Wanderer, the activity that I have posted for you is going to ask you to respond to a journal prompt at the top on the worksheet that is attached to the Google Classroom assignment. What I'd like you to do in this response area is to describe what the word home means to you in 2 to 3 sentences. Does your understanding or definition of the word go beyond just the physical location of where you live? Like, is it just the house in which you reside? If so, in what ways? Okay. So that prompt's going to be important because we've been talking about exile, which is separation from community, but what I want to emphasize is community equaled home in the Anglo-Saxon period. They weren't locked down to the land like I think we traditionally are. Like, oh yeah, that's my childhood home, and I am referring to obviously the physical location or the structure in which I resided as a child. Anglo-Saxons did not have the consistency of a permanent place they were always living. They traveled, they were always invading new lands. So home was a bit different. And so I want you to reflect on that maybe for your own experience. There are some notes that, I lost myself there. Hopefully you can still hear me. A little bit of background about the Wanderer I wanted to offer some insight into. It's on pages 26 to 27 in your textbook. Obviously, I've scanned those pages for you. Most people think that the Wanderer emerged as a piece of oral poetry during the 5th or 6th century. And this is during the time that this Germanic pagan culture of the Anglo-Saxons was undergoing a conversion to Christianity. So just like in the Seafarer, you see traces of both traditional Germanic warrior culture and a Christian value system. In the Seafarer, I feel like it's pretty obvious that the monk recording the story was pretty deliberate about adding that to the story that may have been just passed around orally in the community in which he lived for a while. We do see in the Wanderer some traditional Germanic beliefs, and you have a place to record these notes on your work for today. They have some beliefs about how wise men should act. All right, and you're going to notice that it involves holding back emotion and not just sharing every feeling you have. Okay, reminds me of a line in the musical Hamilton, where Aaron Burr gives the advice, talk less, smile more, because one of Alexander Hamilton's faults is that he just spews off, and talks too much and says too much about what he's feeling. So for my Hamilton fans out there. Another is the inevitability of death. I mean, this was something touched upon in the Seafarer too, in our study yesterday morning, the loss of times gone by and the fact that everything on earth is temporary. You do see some of the pagan belief in mankind's inability to change his fate. And the term for that in the Anglo-Saxon world was Wyrd, W-Y-R-D. This is considered both an elegy and a wisdom poem, okay? So it laments that all the things the wanderer, he's the person wandering, and people more generally have lost. But it's also in the second part a reflection on what wise men learn from their experiences. It's kind of a variation of like that Kelly Clarkson song, like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know what I mean? Okay, so here's the truth. If you lived a long time in the Anglo-Saxon period, you saw a lot of death around you. Not many people lived long lives in the circumstances that they existed. But from that, you gained wisdom. So old men were highly revered because they've been around so long. Wisdom is knowledge that comes from experience. So that's key. There's a little mouse doing some push-ups I don't know what he's doing on a mousetrap. It's meant to be cute. All right. That's all. You're going to see the reading of the poem on the other side. You're going to see a place to complete this information attached. There'll be a text box for you to include. I ask you to reflect on the type of exile. You're going to pick from exile by choice or exile by force. The circumstances that caused this exile for the wanderer. This does fit under the umbrella of elegy. So what is the speaker mourning the loss of? Okay. Can you find an example of alliteration? Okay, that was discussed in the notes from the Anglo-Saxon Riddle remote work last Wednesday, as well as yesterday. I brought it up again. And an example of a kenning. And if you listen to my reading of The Wanderer, I give you that answer. Okay, that's all.